Welcome to the Great Distraction.
What's up, folks? This is The Great Distraction, and today the topic of discussion is part of our sex series, and the topic is VR and tech. My name is Ben, and with me today are my co-host Thomas.
How's it going?
Rick.
Hey, everybody.
And Glenn.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. The Great Distraction is a podcast that focuses on a vast and random range of topics, and we hope that each episode leaves you with, if nothing else, something to ponder. As always, we would love to hear from you guys. Questions, comments, and topic suggestions are always welcome. You can contact us on Facebook or by email at greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com. All right, so we have another series episode here, and this particular series is going to focus on things related to sex. Dun, dun, dun. We have all different topics that we've laid out already for this one. I mean, it's there's a lot to talk about in the world of sex. There's a lot of fun things and funny things alike. This one in particular today, we are going to focus on virtual reality and technology and its application to mostly the porn industry, the porn watching or porn consumption part of it, but it is still a sexually related topic because it's essentially an enhanced form of enhancing masturbation. So, I mean, it's still sex, but you'll see what I'm talking about here when we get into this about how tying this, how it ties so interestingly to what is new with virtual reality and technology is getting tied into stuff. So, anyway, that's kind of a gist of what where we're going with this, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of jokes around because some of this shit is just too funny to not make fun of. On one hand, it's interesting and very applicable to real life. But
on one hand,
yeah, there you go. See, man,
and it begins.
Yeah, it's it. Yeah. And we have begun playing with it. Let's see. Oh, and if you do find this kind of stuff interesting, we have done another. I believe it was a 2-part episode, right? Was the internet porn two parts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it?
Episode 26. I think if it is a 2-parter, I think it is 26 and 27. I think is. I can't remember. Maybe it wasn't. Anyway.
Oh, internet porn? Yeah.
Internet porn was just a single episode. Number 26. If you find some of this stuff interesting, you might enjoy playing it with that one too. But
you might enjoy playing it with it.
Go ahead and you'll enjoy it. Just right. There's some funny stuff. A lot of interesting facts with the porn industry in there. I thought that was it's cool. Anyway. Let's start off the discussion with sex toys at this point in time, or the last, couple decades, just in general. When I started laying this topic out, I was more focused on the toys that are currently and have been available for guys. However, I realized that the application or rather as how VR and tech applies to toys, it affects the toys for males and females pretty much the same because there's equivalent. What I'm trying to say, there's an equivalent for all of the guy toys in the girls as well. It's kind of, you'll see more what I mean when I get further into this. But I didn't really think about that in the beginning because I didn't really research too many of the latest in girls toys. But as I started to for this topic, I realized, wow, it's pretty much an equivalent straight across the board. There are and always have been, though, way more toys out there for girls. It's just due to the mechanics of our anatomy and I don't know why. I guess it's easier to insert something into a hole than it is to stroke a rodular-shaped item. I suppose that's what it boils down to. But for whatever the reason, there is and always has been a lot more out there for females.
Just simpler to produce.
I guess. Now, obviously, the complexities can get great on both designs. But even still, the more complex toys have been out longer for girls than they have been for guys. And any advancement in the toys has taken a lot longer for guys than it has for girls. There just wasn't a whole lot out there, and it's not that people have not focused on trying to create more advanced products. It's that the stuff that I had seen over the years would come from some very small startup company that some Chinese guys have put together, and they're trying to sell this toy for like $2,000, or something.
A sex doll kind of thing.
Well, or motorized mechanical strokers and stuff like that. It's just like big
mechanical
contraption.
stroker.
Mechanical stroker. Yeah, just wait till you hear what I've got here, man. This is why I wanted to do this topic. It's
Pretty sure I don't want gears anywhere near that.
It really cranks my gears. Yeah.
How much do you know about the Gear Wars?
That's what I was going for. Yeah, here for our Rick and Morty fans out there. Yes.
Oh, I envy you.
Terrible. Let's see. And I already mentioned that. Yeah, most of the products that we'll talk about have a female equivalent, and I'll try and mention what the female equivalent is as we proceed through this endeavor here. So, advancements in toy technology, not in a chronological order, but in some sort of order. Right now, things have changed quite a bit in the last, probably 5 to 6, 7 years, something like that, wherein there have been a few companies that have made, through marketing, sex toys much more mainstream, like a whole lot more mainstream. The company that comes to mind in particular, that many of you I'm sure have heard of, is the Fleshlight. The Fleshlight, you got to hand it to them.
They took the problem in hand.
Do you give them one hand or two?
Well, you can use both or one. If it depends on how you want to hit it. But depends on how you want to play with it. The Fleshlight, that company in particular, man, they must have spent a ton of money on they must have put a lot of budget into their marketing because they hit everywhere, from every magazine to they're not even just sex magazines. They're on. I think they even have advertisements in other people's magazines that are not just male magazines, like GQ or something. They're everywhere. They're all over the internet. They advertise on every porn site. You got to hand it to them. They really blew it up there.
Funny story about that. I was listening to a Kevin Smith interview, and he was talking about they used the Fleshlight in their Zack and Miri Make a Porno movie, and it was either a letter or a phone call from the Fleshlight company thanking them for the free advertisement that surpassed anything else that they had already paid for.
Oh yeah,
it's like that put them on the map.
Yep, I believe it. Wow. Yeah, one mainstream B title movie or what A title movie, and and then all of a sudden you're like,
everyone wants a Fleshlight.
Yep. So they blew up, and when that happened, and it had been like the whole market had kind of been going up on this on an uptick anyway from this, but that just kind of opened the doors for all different other companies to start making stuff. That also it opens people's eyes and minds to maybe it's not so taboo to have sex toys in the first place, and especially for guys, because the first time you go over to your buddy's house and you walk in, and what the fuck is that, dude? Is that really a rubber ass in the corner of your bedroom?
Hey, man, just trying to branch out in the 9 little holes I can stick it in.
Yeah, it's like, I've been single a long time, man. Don't judge,
Here, you want to try it?
No, actually, you can still make fun of the guy who has a sex doll in his under bed, though. That's still kind of weird. But no, I'm kidding. Anyway, and then along with that, when more money comes into a market, and because it becomes more mainstream, you start getting more innovative designs and more creative applications within the product categories and offerings. So things have gotten smaller, things have gotten sleeker, things have gotten more hygienic, and that's kind of how it's progressed for a while. Some other stuff got more popular too, especially that's kind of Fleshlight to help to establish and lay the tracks for is cloning from molds of male and female parts. So one of the things Fleshlight made real popular, which had already existed, but they kind of, again, they had a name to work with and a whole market share to promote to, is castings of female porn stars' vaginas, and then you make it into and then they make it into one of their Fleshlight units, and if you have a favorite porn star and she has a molded version of the Fleshlight, there you go. And for those that don't know, a Fleshlight kind of looks like a flashlight, which is why it's called a Fleshlight. And then they have a what do you call it?
Which one's the business end?
Well, you surprised yourself with that one. So, and then it has a sleeve with a patented silicone rubber-like material that feels like, supposed to feel really like soft. I don't know. Anyway, it's a patented thing that they've got, and you insert it into the plastic flashlight-looking thing, and then basically it's a hand stroker. and the other side of it has a adjustment for like suction, so you can let air in or let air out, whatever. So you can imagine that these, and it's funny too because they sell like a whole bunch of different sleeves. So you can use the outer plastic portion like of the flashlight, and then you can, as we're giving flashlights some marketing right here, right?
Right.
And then you can buy a whole bunch of different inserts that have different designs and feelings that basically stimulate your dick in different ways, I guess. And then you can adjust suction by at the end, and then they have different accessories, like there's an accessory where you can suction cup it to your shower wall. Damn, dude, I never thought of fucking on my wall, but I mean, all right,
in case you wanted to.
In case you wanted to, and then what's even funnier is they've gotten so big that companies like, for example, Liberator, which is a really cool company, make really cool sex pillows, and they have actually made sex pillows that hold the fleshlight, so that you can, so that fucking your pillow isn't as bad as it used to be.
Do they have different color filters for like the light lens?
There's no light. There's no light. It's not actual light.
What the fuck? That's false advertising. It's not a flashlight?
It's not actually.
Oh, yeah.
It's not actually a flashlight, dude.
Yeah, I had a visual like some dude walking through the house jerking it in the dark, looking for intruders.
Lighting his pathway,
Yeah.
dude. You
don't want to bump into a wall.
You want to
with
fucking trip with that thing on your dick?
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't think of that. Simultaneously, there on the other side of the same coin, there is for the girls. There's a product that's been out for a long time by a company called Bone Clone, and you can actually they send you a kit and all the stuff necessary to make a mold of your man's dick, so that while he's gone, you can always remember him. And you can even there's even like a vibrator insert for that piece, so
Wow.
you can yeah. So the clone can do even more than the original could do.
Wow.
Careful, guys, she might not need you anymore.
You stumble into the drawer and you're like, wait a minute, that's not a clone of my dick.
She's got a collection of clone dicks with names on them.
It's everybody in the neighborhood.
Like a serial killer.
Fuck, collects dick clones, dude. Dick
That's
molds.
the postman. That's the trash guy.
Who's your brother?
Damn, he's more hung than I am. And moving along, technology, things have become more portable, especially options with vibrating capability, battery powered. You don't have to plug them into the wall anymore.
You used to have to plug them into the wall?
There were ones, that you could
That's
plug into the wall.
fucking
Yeah, if you didn't, and then now they have smaller, use more efficient motors, so they're more portable and they're battery powered. And that's specifically to vibrating models. As that progressed, you got variable speeds and power intensity settings for those vibrating models, so that you can have some options and variation there.
Don't do the same thing every day.
Nope, and that applies to both female and male toys. So, and usually the vibrating ones for females is really pretty easy to understand. Imagine a dildo with a vibrator, and that's kind of simple. And then various attachments and accessories have gone along with that, clitoral stimulators, stuff like that, because you get
Edge
dual
trimmer.
vibrators. What?
Edge trimmer.
Edge trim. Well, so you can trim your pubes at the same time as as getting off. And then say it for the guys, usually it's a sleeve, but would be vibrating, and you can vary your intensity or whatever. So. And then the next big thing that popped up there was it's been so I had started this off saying that technology was much more slow to advance for the male sex toys, and one of the reasons is it was very difficult to design. I mean, I imagine I'm not in the industry, but I would imagine it's very difficult to design mechanically a product that for a man that strokes and or sucks. As no, it doesn't say that doesn't suck, right? They would actually stroke because there's so
The hard part was getting it to not to change its mind halfway through.
Oh damn, dude!
It's got to finish the job.
You guys are ridiculous. This is gonna be great. It's gonna be a very fun topic here. So designing the mechanics behind that was difficult. And therefore, and several companies had tried. Like I said, there was some smaller off the foreign companies that had tried, and it's just too expensive. The stuff they would come up with was thousands of dollars. Nobody's going to buy that. So they have come up with designs now that are within the price range. And when I say within the price range, I'm like some of them are like $500-$600 and less. When they first started coming out more consumer or more available to the consumers, average consumer. But it was definitely a step towards advancing the capabilities of a male sex toy. And one of the interesting approaches to this problem was actually from Fleshlight. And this is pretty new, so I'm kind of stepping out of our chronological timeline here, but they call it the Fleshlight launch. And again, guys, I'm not meaning for this to be an advertisement for Fleshlight. It's just an easy one to...
Dude, he's totally doing a plug.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, we got... Yeah, as a matter of fact, they gave us all Fleshlights
Hey, man.
as payment for this episode, and we're all circle jerking it over here. No.
You know, I like you, man, but not that much.
But here's what's interesting. The Fleshlight launch, so you have that flashlight-shaped thing with the sleeve in it. Oh, and by the way, there's different options for the mouths. It can look like a butthole. It can look like a vagina. It can look like a mouth. It can look like lips.
Wow.
They have all different sleeve options. Ridiculous. I mean, when I say that, they have like dozens of options. It's pretty crazy.
Does he get into fetishes too? Like they have one that looks like an eye socket.
I wonder.
Damn, dude. No, I didn't see that, but wow.
An armpit.
Fucking
Email 'em.
belly button.
Right.
Wow.
People have weird fetishes, man.
You're right. I did not.
You got to
think
hit
about
every
that.
market.
So this thing is kind of crazy. Imagine, I'm going to try and describe this stuff because I know we don't have pictures to. You can all Google it. I'm sure
You can use your imagination.
you can use your imagination. The Fleshlight launch takes that Fleshlight, and you put the whole unit into, for lack of a better term, into another unit. And this other unit is, this is really difficult to explain. Imagine something shaped kind of like your cell phone, like that rectangular cube-like shape, but it's thicker. And the Fleshlight goes into the middle of it. And that unit is capable of moving the Fleshlight up and down. So it strokes. So you put this unit, I mean, this thing is like, I think it's like a foot tall and like 8 inches wide. So it's big. And you put this whole fucking thing, like you'd lay down, or I don't know how you could use it sitting down or something. Let's say you lay down, you hold this thing with 2 hands, you put it on, you put the Fleshlight inside of it, you put your dick inside the Fleshlight, you hold this thing above you, and it starts stroking. That's the launch.
That sounds pretty complicated.
Right.
There's no real easy way to make a universal... This is what I'm talking about with the advancements of this technology. There's no real easy way to make a stroking device. There's too many different size penises. There are too many different widths. There's too many... And then how do you do it so that it can stroke thousands of times without breaking? I mean, you don't... and then you have to make it cheap, right? It can't be made all out of metal. It costs too much.
You got to
right?
make it small enough so that people don't see it in your car.
Yeah, and this thing's not small. It's like a small shoebox on your car.
You know, so while you're on that road trip going down the road.
Yes, I guess. Yeah, so it's like a small shoebox size, if you will, that shape of a shoebox. And I mean, I haven't seen it in person.
What's in that box?
It's your dick in a box, dude. Exactly. I haven't seen it in person, but that is where the market has been going. And when they came out with that, there's been a couple of other variations of some similar type toys, right? Okay, going back to our chronological list here, some of the other features that they have added to vibrating, variable speed, vibrating, power intensity, and even some of the stroking models is Bluetooth connectivity.
So you can like listen to your favorite song or something.
Through your
Make
flashlight.
it buzz.
So your dildo can sing to you?
Oh, I know why. You can make it hum on you while you're doing it.
Hum on you?
Yeah, you never gotten a hummer?
Right?
Not for my phone.
But now you can.
Now you
And
can.
your flashlight.
Okay, so the Bluetooth connectivity is a little different than you guys are imagining here.
Oh.
Imagine
It's just so you can unlock your car door or something.
you're gonna unlock something.
Well, you just have a specific pattern that you have to like move it
Left,
in.
left, right, down.
Deep
That's the
out.
trunk, dude. That's opening the trunk. Now the rear door.
Turns on the Ring video camera and sends it to your mom or some shit.
To your iCloud, dude. Uploads to your iCloud.
Yep.
So imagine you have a vibrating dildo and you have Bluetooth connectivity to it, and you pop up an app on your phone, and you can vary the intensity, control the strength, you control the pattern. You can select different patterns. Or imagine a sleeve that you stick your penis into, and it vibrates the same ways, and you can control it via Bluetooth in the app. That's the PC. That's the Bluetooth connectivity. That's from an app. Now, there is also an option.
So there is an app for that.
There is an app for everything. There is also an option to connect it to your PC for similar functionality. Gets a little more complex with the PC, but we'll get into that.
Sounds like a lot more cords.
No cords, it's Bluetooth.
This sounds like it has a potential to run into like one of those VR videos.
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. So, internet connectivity on some of these devices via USB or Wi-Fi. Yes, some of these devices have built-in Wi-Fi. And that allows control from a PC or your phone, your smartphone in certain examples, and from videos, internet, or others. And we'll get into that in a minute.
Some random person being able to adjust the intensity while you're going at it.
You're getting close. Now, advancements, let's step away from that. Let's talk about some advancements in VR, because that has paved the way for this connection I'm going to make here as soon as we get through this little part here. That little piece.
Just got to push through.
It's not little. When I say VR, I mean virtual reality, and a lot of people I talk to about VR stuff, especially in the gaming, about gaming stuff, or just for content consumption, or a lot of the other things that productivity tools that you can do in VR. A lot of people are unaware of how advanced virtual reality headsets have come so far. This is joking aside from the sex stuff, this is a great time in technology for this VR stuff. If you haven't had a chance to experience this, and I don't mean just for sex, for a lot of other stuff. For porn rather. There's a lot of really, really, really cool applications of this, and it's becoming, like I said, extremely, extremely mainstream. The biggest being from companies called Oculus, which is owned by Facebook, PlayStation, which of course is Sony, and HTC, which many of you know HTC from. They're a huge cell phone manufacturer. They make a unit as well that's very, very popular. And those are the three biggest options, mostly for gaming. However, there's many, many, many other things you can do with them besides just gaming. Some other options that exist, a lot of you I'm sure have seen the smartphone-based ones, wherein you buy a, like a mechanical headset thing that you slip your phone into, and the phone is capable of displaying this 3D content, and you can actually watch VR content from YouTube or various other sources using your cell phone. Those don't work as good as the headsets, but it does give you a general idea of how cool this technology is. And then also Windows Mixed Reality is a new one that's coming up, and those are kind of like, if you will, generic, affiliated with an ecosystem type thing that you can use on any, headsets that you can use on any computer, or any PC rather. I don't think there's much for the Mac-based stuff yet, but and iPhone doesn't seem to be adopting it just yet. But anyway, that's what that's kind of how what's popular right now. And if for those that haven't experienced this, the best example or description I can give to you of how this works is, imagine you have two screens in front of you, in front of each eye, so you get a binocular depth perceptive visual in front of you. So you can actually tell depth perception. So it doesn't look 3D like cheesy glasses used to look. It looks 3D like you see with your eye. And imagine it's shot with a wide-angle lens that is very close to your own visual perception. So it looks like you're looking around. And as you move your head around, 360, up, down, left, right, whatever you're doing, it feeds you a new image, like instantaneously. So it looks smooth. So you can imagine putting yourself in a room, or in the Great Alps, or skydiving out of an airplane, and these cameras that they use record all the way around, like a global view. And as you look around, you can see everything that's going on at that moment in time as you look around. It's really, really cool, because you're constantly being fed a new image as you move. There's accelerometers in the headsets that know what direction your head is facing, so it knows what image to send you at that exact moment. And they go up to about 5K, so it's very high res, but it's because there's so much data in there. Most of the technology still looks a little grainy, but it's definitely a pleasant experience to check out. And as I had mentioned, there's generally two variations on this technology that comes out. And there's the wireless ones, like the cell phone one and the standalone units. And then there are tethered ones that have to be attached to your PlayStation or your computer. And as I had already alluded to, they're very, very immersive. I mean, it's ridiculous how much you can feel like you are in places. Some of the content that's on YouTube will be like going to an art museum, and you walk through this museum and control it with your controller. In the case of the PSVR, which is the PlayStation version, and you're sitting here walking through art museums, looking at the art that's on the wall, looking at the floor, looking at everything, just like you're really there. Or if you wanted to go see the pyramids or whatever, people have shot video for this stuff everywhere. So it's really like being there. It's unreal. And when as this technology continues growing and getting better, and the what's the word I'm looking for? The fineness of the image, like how crisp and like sharp it is. Just like back in the day, we used to have like CRT TVs, right? Now we've got 8K coming out, and 4K TVs are prevalent. I mean, that stuff is so stupid sharp. It looks beautiful. Well, when VR goggles get that sharp and that advanced, it's going to be like you're there. It's not even like it may even satisfy you going there, whatever it is. You could watch concerts like that. There's no end to the content that can be consumed and the places you can go with this technology. And it's much different than regular. I tried to allude to this earlier, but I wanted to emphasize this. It's not like normal camera footage at all. So until you see this stuff with your own eyes, it really is difficult to imagine what it is I'm describing. You really have to check it out for yourself. Find somebody who's got a PSVR. Find somebody who's got an Oculus headset, or go buy one yourself. I mean, you can get them as cheap as
Well, it's go to your friend's house and watch porn.
Yeah, well, I haven't even gotten to the porn part of it yet. There's a whole lot more here to enjoy than just the porn.
Hey, Dave, let me check out this VR.
Yeah. I'm going to go hang out in your bathroom for a few minutes, buddy. I promise I'll clean up the goggles when I'm done. So anyway, that alludes to where I was going with this anyway. Naturally, the porn industry jumped on board as soon as possible and started filming with 360-degree or 180-degree 3D cameras. And at this point, most of the high-quality stuff still costs money because they kind of have a handle on. There's only a few companies that are producing good, high-quality content, and they're selling it via their website, and they're charging top dollar for it. But that's how a lot of things start. The people who are manufacturing, they're producing the high-quality stuff have kind of a lock on it. But every day, more and more free stuff is coming out, and it's going to be just like all the rest of the porn industry, where it'll all be free and you'll be able to get it everywhere anyway.
As soon as those 3D cameras end up in amateur hands.
And they already have. Like GoPro's even got one of those 3D cameras, and it's expensive. I think it's like $600, but $600 is within the reach of the average person.
Right.
Especially the average amateur trying to shoot their own porn. And it is a trip to watch porn in these things. It's, I don't know. I've shown. I thought I showed you guys or whatever. Maybe I haven't.
You've talked about it pretty in depth, but I haven't seen it.
It's fucking weird, dude.
In great detail.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I'm perplexed by it because I don't actually find it very erotic. It's more like, wow, this is fucking weird. Like, this is crazy that I really feel like I'm there. Like, you really feel like you're sitting in front of this girl or this guy or whatever you're into, and the way they film it is usually from the perspective. So the camera will be like right at eye level, like if you were there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks very real. It looks very realistic, but it's weird. Like, it doesn't, I don't know, for some reason that doesn't turn me on. It's kind of like, it's weird. It sounds like it would, and for a lot of people it does, but for me personally.
So you got to sync up your vibrating flashlight.
We're getting there. Don't get ahead of it. Don't do it yet.
Oh man.
So the first time you see porn with this stuff, it's definitely a I don't want to say novelty in the bad aspect, but it's definitely something to experience. If you enjoy watching porn, you should definitely check this out because it's there's nothing else like it. There's never been anything else like it. So it's a really unique experience and adds to a whole new depth to any content consumption, but especially porn and like I was saying, there's videos of jumping out of planes and sky art, all kind underwater stuff. Really, really cool. You ever want to swim with sharks but didn't want to get in the water? That's the way to do it. So Glenn started alluding to where we're going here next, tying this VR stuff and sex toys together, because that is really what blew me away and what kind of put together.
Did it now?
Yeah. Yes. No, and it kind of got me to get this, put this topic together here. So we had already talked about, let's start, before we get too far into the VR, let's kind of lay down some groundwork of what's possible with this technology. The manual strokers or dildos I had mentioned earlier with Bluetooth connectivity that allow speed control can also be made, depending on how they're designed and what sensors they put in there, to send speed monitoring. So let's say, for example, you are using this said dildo and you start going in and out, faster or slower. If you're using one of these manual strokers like a sleeve, well, how fast are you moving it personally? You're getting closer, you're going faster, you're slowing down, whatever. That data can be monitored and sent to the PC for a couple of reasons. One of the first things that they did, the first implementations I saw of this interaction with what, like Glenn had said, interactive videos, is what they'll do is they're monitoring via this connection to your computer, running a piece of software, the speed at which you're using the toy. Then the software will tell you what speed you should be going for that particular scene in the video. So, okay, let's lay this out. So you're watching a video and this dude's just going real slow in and out of it, right? Then at that point, the software is popping up telling you, you're going too fast, slow down. Then he starts really railing into it. And all of a sudden the software pops up and tells you, you're not going fast enough, speed up. So because it has feedback, It can tell you how fast you should be going to match match what's
video.
happening in the video.
That would be fucking annoying.
Okay, yes, but remember, I'm trying to lay down groundwork here because each of these pieces is going to come together to make a much bigger product, basically, a much more
A bigger experience.
a better experience, a more immersive experience. That's what we're heading to here. But let me continue laying these pieces of technology down.
It'd be awesome if they had like that choose your own adventure type of thing, where if you're not going fast enough, the dude looks over his shoulder, he's like, "Speed it up."
Yeah, what, like those interactive workouts, you know? It's like, come on now, give it all you got. You're
Don't quit
almost
on me
there.
now.
Yeah, you're almost there. Okay, so now that's a manual toy that is sending feedback to a computer. Now,
And to the NSA.
and yeah, we don't really know to who. So now the other aspect, other feature we talked about was these vibrating sleeves or dildos that connect to the PC. So similarly, if the device can send information to, it can receive information from. Right? It's a two-way street there. So if you had a vibrating dildo or a vibrating sleeve, the video could have data embedded in it that vibrates according to what's happening in the video. Again, he speeds up, device vibrates harder, whatever. Use your imagination. And what's interesting is that this has opened up a whole subculture of people that make their own vibration control files for videos. So when they design these toys that connect for this purpose, they kind of made an open source file format that allows people to write their own intensity levels or their own files to go with their favorite scenes that they like to watch.
And are they sharing this information?
They are.
So this is kind of like the
Subculture.
The Apple Watches where you're tracking your run and sharing it with your buddies. Can you share like your strokes?
Your
Like I
strokes
found
per
the
minute.
perfect rhythm for this new scene.
Well, I would think more what you would do is, dude, let me send you this video, and here's my file for it. Check out what I wrote, And
Beat my record.
there you go. So, I mean, it's an interesting concept, right? I mean, you could manipulate this interaction with a video where you've never been. Now, this technology and where we are with this stuff is still rudimentary, right? It's still kind of like, well, that's a cool idea, I guess, but that's kind of cheesy. It's still kind of cheesy, right? But it's moving along, and it's like I said, these are all little parts that are going to add up to something I think a lot crazier down the road. So then you take that same concept and you apply it to the devices that are capable of stroking, vibrating, and also heating up. Some of them have built-in heaters. You connect all that to the PC and give it the option to use files that can be custom created. Now you've got like 3 levels of control, right? And you can pass those files around just like you could pass the other ones. And all of that stuff leads to a much more realistic immersion with what you're visually being stimulated by watching the video. Are you with me so far?
I'm following.
Thomas is like, this look
following
on Thomas's face is just...
It's a lot to take in.
Right.
Wow,
hold
that's
on
what
a
she
second.
said.
Yeah. Please tell me that they named these files STD files so you can share them with your buddies.
So you can share
that's
STDs.
Too fantastic.
I like it. I do not know what the files are called, but
We should call somebody and tell them they need to rename that shit.
I was thinking like some sort of jerkin file or some JRK file or
Like an EJ, E&J.
EJ. Yeah. So anyway, that's where the standalone.
Hey, man, your file gave me a rash.
Dirty, man, dirty. So that's where we are right now in technology. Those
Can they embed
products,
that in the file?
Embedded
rash?
STD and a rash.
A virus?
No,
Yeah,
but I
sounds
guess,
like a virus.
No, but I
Hey,
guess-
got an STD from your file, dude.
no, but I guess they can increase the intensity so much that it gives you a rash from stroking it too much.
Oh shit! Friction burn.
Fucking
Hit
rug
burn.
burn, dude. Yeah, you didn't put enough lube in that thing, dude. So that's where we are right
Start
now.
smoking.
Yeah. Oh, damn, dude. That's where
Freaking
we.
clamps on, doesn't let go.
I don't think I haven't seen too many that can adjust tension, but I'm sure that's around the bend at some point. But that's where we are right
around
now,
the shaft.
and that's around the shaft. That's what's capable with what's currently on the market today. You can buy several different devices that do this, and that have these features, and and utilize that functionality. Now, some of the videos actually come with these files already built in, these levels, and you can actually see some of them if you watch videos on I think Pornhub has them or whatever. There'll be like a little bar graph on the bottom of the video when you hover over it, and that is the intensity level for one of the devices. I don't know which, and you can see it ramp up when they're fucking harder or when he's coming or whatever, or she's coming. Depending, there's even some girl stuff. And yeah, anyway, so some of that's already present out there, and simultaneously, some of the sites are already feeding free VR content. So now you've got that option to be totally immersed in the VR world while you're looking around, combined with this shoebox contraption, your dick in a box, that you've got on that is controlling the intensity, the heat, the stroke, maybe the tension at some point, along with the video. So you see this connectivity that we've got going here. That was the the main event there. Now, where are we going from here? Because that's what was my point behind laying all this out individually, piece by piece, is that if you start thinking about this stuff as, holy shit, like there's a lot of pieces that are already in place for this, be it, what?
Dude, you could put together a chat room so you could interact with a random person of whatever.
Already done.
All right.
Already done.
It's called Chatterbait. And
shit.
the concept behind Chatterbait, yeah, it's huge, by the way. The concept behind Chatterbait, I'll get in. I was going to talk about that a little bit later, but we'll throw that. We'll talk about that now. The concept behind Chatterbait is really, really interesting to me, I think, because it opens the door, like a lot of porn sites did too today, opens the door for amateur and basically, well, that's what I meant, yeah, amateur. Anybody can start. And it's blowing up because any girl in her bedroom alone by herself can get on here and make quite a bit of money. When it was new. I don't know what the industry's like now, but whatever. And the concept and the application though, so I'll give you a little background on what Chatterbait does. It is you're watching a cam show of a live girl wherever she is, her bedroom or with other people. She can be by herself. She could be with her boyfriend or some guy. She can be with another girl, whatever her deal is. She sits in front of her webcam and you can chat with her while she's doing her little cam show. Now, what they do to make money off of this is that's all free. And you can sit there and wait and watch, and hopefully she'll do something that you want to see. Or you can ask them to do things. Or you buy tokens in the application with real money. Then you give them tokens to do certain things. And a lot of these girls, when you log into their chat room, they'll pop up a list of options. Want me to take my top off? 20 tokens. Want me to finger myself? 30 tokens. Want me to suck my boyfriend's dick? 100 tokens, whatever. And they'll sit there and wait and flirt with you and talk to you and respond to you or whatever until somebody gives them money to do the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And that's how they make their money. Now, the reason I bring this up is because they have, I don't know what it's called, but it's a little vibrator that they can insert inside their vagina, and it is attached to the Wi-Fi or a USB receiver. I don't know which it is. But it's attached to the computer, and you can, for X amount of tokens, buzz her.
Wow.
Or leave it on, or whatever you want to pay for. So that is a connection to an individual. Now this is, and I'm glad you brought this up because there's another way I see this expanding out too down the road. Right now we have many watching one in that circumstance. There can be a whole bunch of guys watching this and dumping money into getting her to do this, that, and the other. And but that's the whole concept behind Chatterbait and how they had and the product they have made along these lines to, again, increase your immersiveness. Some people really like watching people undress or have sex or whatever. It's kind of like that voyeurism in a sense. It can be like that, or it can be like, I guess, like going to a strip club. Like some people like watching people take off their clothes and stuff like that. So I don't know if that works for you. That's an option, right? Going forward, yeah, I only see more and more coming out for both guys and girls. That Chatterbait product is a great example of where it could head for girls. It can be even more immersive than that, as you heard some of the more complex mechanics that they're coming out with for the guys' toys. But one of the things I have not seen implemented yet, and I have no doubt that somebody's working on it, but I haven't seen anybody come out with a product that's for sale yet, is haptic feedback. And haptic feedback is things that emulate touch. So, like if you're bored and you're curious about haptic feedback, this is not sexually related. This is safe for work. YouTube haptic, like a haptic glove or haptic feedback. Period. You'll see all kinds of stuff. These are, if you will, a sensory. I don't even know how to describe it. They found a way. They found ways to use types of fabrics that are embedded with certain things. Sometimes they're vibrators, sometimes they're little air pockets, all kinds of things to mimic stimulation on your skin to make you feel like you're feeling something. So if you are wearing a haptic glove and you grab something virtually, again, a lot of this ties into the VR world. You pick up an item. If it's supposed to be hard metal, it will kind of flex back on you, so that when you squeeze your hand, it'll push your hand out, so that it kind of feels like there's a feedback there. Or if you grab a fluffy little, like a balloon or something, it'll be more squishy and it'll push your hand back less, so that you have this feedback into your your nervous your skin, nervous or your motor control, so that you think you're actually feeling something.
Can you detect texture, like petting a chinchilla versus sandpaper?
Yeah, but well, imagine if you're petting something really smooth and soft, you're going to have very little friction.
Yeah.
If you're petting something like your beard, it's going to vibrate a little more. So if you can make the fingertips and the fingers vibrate, then you can kind of emulate the roughness that your hand would be feeling as it's moving over said surface, right? Now, take that, wrap it around your dick, and there you go. I mean, there's squeezing, there's, pressure, there's all kinds of stuff, right? Take that and put yourself in a whole bodysuit.
Wow.
So now you could feel touching all over your body.
Didn't they do that in Demolition Man?
It's been done in many different shows.
Something similar, but
many different shows, many movies. This is nothing new. It's just I started thinking okay, where do I see this stuff going? Being what I've seen so far, paying attention to how the industry has changed and the technology that's come out in it, and especially what's recently blown me away is this VR stuff. It's just yes, this VR stuff is awesome, man. Just for gaming and for content consumption, it's amazing. It's really really wowed me. So then the application, when I started hearing it was heavily applied to porn, I was like, oh man, I think I know where this is. This is crazy. This is going to get nuts, right? Now, D's nuts.
So you wear a suit, and it just stimulates. So like if somebody was to touch you on the shoulder on the suit, you'd have this simulation of somebody touching you.
Yep. Or if some girl is riding you, you would feel this whole pressure on your legs and your stomach or whatever. I mean, just imagine, how the sensory feedback that you could emulate.
Have any of you guys read Ready Player One?
Didn't read it, but I watched the movie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, like that. That very much like Ready Player One, and that's totally on its way. Some of the technology they use in Ready Player One is already available.
Yeah.
So I mean but that's like the video game aspect. But all of that reality, all that physical immersion into a virtual reality world is all applicable to porn. I mean, it's it's basically sexual masturbation. It can all be used in that same industry and in that same realm. So, with that in mind, let's go back to the chatterbait model, because now you could potentially have a one-on-one interaction with someone who could then feed you back feedback. So let's say you've got that fleshlight stroker on, right? She could be emulating stroking your dick, and that thing could be moving with the data that she's, with the same speed, and so basically she could control it remotely.
Wow.
Same thing with a haptic, suit or something. If she grabs your arm, and I keep saying she, but this could be for women too, because there could be a insertable dildo that vibrates. There are devices that go in and out designed to penetrate. They could be wearing that, and as somebody grabs your arm, you could feel somebody grab your arm. It's coming for video games. It's already being tested, and there's a lot of YouTube videos on stuff like that. So if you get hit in the arm, you can feel it in the arm. You get shot in the stomach, you can feel oh damn, what the hell? And you can feel that vibration, that tension.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts, right? So you take that chatterbait model, and now you could have one-on-one sessions. And that's pretty crazy. With that, they could control everything from insertion speed, depth. For females, vibration, heat, all over the internet, but in reverse, because instead of you sending the signal to the model or the performer, they're sending it back to you.
And you're paying for it.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So yeah, you're like, oh, do that again. Pay.
Right. Another $40, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I think at that point, what you would be paying for is the time with them. So give me an hour with this person.
Yeah.
And if they get you off in 20 minutes, you've already paid for the hour. What are you worried? They don't care.
So essentially, if you had say a porn star that you were a fan of,
Yep.
she could say, well, you can download this app or download this video or whatever.
Connect
and
with me.
Yeah.
And then
you
we
can have basically have a sexual experience.
Yep.
With this person.
And one of the things I think is amazing about this is imagine how much safer stuff like that would be for girls that want to be in that industry. They're really not doing anything, right? They're just sitting in their bedroom by themselves making hella money.
Yeah.
As long as they're okay with themselves being nude and doing all that shit on the internet, But if there's plenty of girls that don't are past that
seem to be okay
boundary,
with it,
that hurdle. So as long as they're okay with that, they can make a ton of money, and nobody can ever hurt them. Nobody can ever say any. I mean, it's much safer than being a porn star, and it's much safer than being a prostitute, and it's much safer. It's like, yeah.
Well, it's also more of a personal experience too. I mean, I guess if somebody who's really into watching porn, I mean, you're watching something. This interaction of being able to have a physical experience where you feel something, or especially the suit thing, that blows my mind.
Yeah,
I had not heard any of this.
Haptic suits, man, and haptic gloves and haptic. I don't know. Yeah, very, very cool. Now, let's take it a step further. We've talked about real dolls before, I think, right?
Yep.
So the manufacturer of real dolls has worked with. I don't think he's released anything, but he has worked with putting animatronics, basically motor control, into the dolls to make them do certain things. I think he messed around with facial expressions, and I think he also messed around with like being able to make the mouth open and close and stuff like that for like both realism and for sexual purposes as well, right?
I saw demo videos. Excuse me. It looked like they were without the skin, kind of looked like a Boston Dynamics robot, pole dancing, and like going through the motions of fellatio.
There you go. So now imagine that you have dolls with that stuff built in, with those features built in. Maybe it's got a vagina that can contract or whatever, or it's capable of, giving a blowjob, or it's a male one and it's it can thrust or whatever. And then it has a speaker in it so it can talk. And now that live cam model can actually talk through the doll.
So you've got a 3D sex toy model that you're holding.
Mm-hmm. Or laying down.
Or laying down with. And now this video is through the VR goggles.
Yeah, well, with or without, because at that point now you've got a doll.
Oh, that's
so
true.
now you've got a real doll there, whatever. But it could start with the VR portion of it. But the thing is the feedback to feel the physical. So either you've got a haptic suit, but those aren't out yet, or you've got a doll. Remember, I'm trying to go more into the future here with where this might go. And the haptic suit might be just a better option anyway if that technology comes out first. The whole real doll thing that already exists if you can figure out the mechanics behind what's necessary to do that. Plus, I mean, the other problem with that is the cost would be astronomical. Those things are already like $15,000 or something stupid like that. Wow. Yeah, they're extremely expensive. But it would be this is kind of like back the phone sex days, right? Except now you're just paying for somebody to talk through your doll. As weird as that sounds.
Wow.
And again, all of the monitoring could be, in that example of the phone sex example, all of the monitoring, there could be monitoring done to what you're doing to the doll. So now let's say the doll can feel where it's being squeezed, or it can feel you going inside of it or going inside of you, depending on what you're doing. And that data could be sent to the voice performer that you have connected via the internet to talk to you while you're doing this doll, or while you're watching the VR feed or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, connect all this stuff together and see what the possibilities. Imagine what the possibilities are, right?
Humans won't have sex with each other anymore.
We're getting to that's where I'm kind of alluding to with this, with the real discussion behind what's going on here.
And all of a sudden, the population went down.
It's not necessarily a bad thing, but yeah. Let's see. Oh, and then it kind of moves towards. Did you guys ever see that movie, Artificial Intelligence, AI?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember the Love Bots?
Oh yeah.
With Gigolo Joe.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're moving towards when we start integrating this stuff into dolls, right? I mean, we're the sex robots, dude. Yeah. Wow. I thought it was funny because I'll never forget Gigolo Joe.
Right.
Okay. So. Like Thomas had alluded to, that's where I wanted to go next with this, actually. But the psychology behind this. Why is this happening? Like, why is it getting bigger? Why is it becoming more popular? Why is it moving in this direction? Will it become even more popular? Will it take over the real thing, like you were saying? And I think this, the The first thing I thought of was, man, I really can see it becoming bigger and taking over or replacing, not taking over, but replacing human interaction of this sorts. And the reason I was thinking of that is because it seems like a lot of people are opting to be more independent and separate from others. And I can see two things. I see two angles. One, what if the stimulation that something like this provides is greater than the real thing? Kind of like the example I was talking to Thomas before we started recording this episode. I was kind of using the example, what if you took, you were used to driving a Ferrari every day to work? And let's assume I've never driven a Ferrari, but let's assume a Ferrari is a super comfortable, super fast, super cool, amazing car, like the best car ride you could ever have. Pick another car if you don't like Ferraris, whatever. And then all of a sudden somebody hands you an old Ford Pinto or, I don't know, a falling apart car, whatever the hell it is. Pick an ugly car.
And you're like, Fiesta.
Yeah, Ford Fiesta, there you go. And you're like, dude, this is garbage. I'm used to the overstimulation of a 600 horsepower Ferrari every day and looking cool while I'm doing it. I can't go back to this. This is terrible. At what point does the immersion factor, the stimulus factor, the experience that you get from things like this overtake or
replace
becomes better than the real thing? When that happens, what do we have left? I mean, what do we move to? And I think that for some people, we've already gotten there. And I think that for a couple of reasons. But you were going to say something? Oh, sorry.
Finish your thought.
And I think that what might happen for a lot of people for one major reason. It is probable for a lot of people that they will never get to be with the type of person that they fantasize about. It's just not going to happen. You're just, if you're not good looking enough, you're not going to get that model, be it a guy or girl. You're never going to have that opportunity that you dream about and fantasize about. This can open that door closer than anything else you can do.
Absolutely. It fulfills the fantasy that you have.
That's right.
In
So
more of a physical.
If the method to fulfill that fantasy continues to get better, what if it gets to the point where you don't really want or need anybody real because that is enough and better than enough? So that's one angle, especially for people who are left unfulfilled. Maybe the only person you get in your life is somebody that you just settled with. And you know.
Well, cut down on how many trips people make to the Ukraine.
Yeah, if you haven't heard our episode on the mail order brides, yeah, exactly. Check that one out.
Yeah, so to Thomas's point, people like that already exist, and they would be using other methods to satisfy those fantasies, which is what fantasies are. It's something that is perceived to be unattainable by you. So this was probably a concern when pornography went from pictures to video and then to home video, so you could watch it in your house instead of having to go to a theater.
Yep.
I see where you're going with it, but I don't want to believe maybe that you can replace the actual interaction between humans. I think there's a lot to that.
Well, I think when you're talking about could it replace, we already have an enormous part of our population that is not antisocial, but just not very good at social interaction. Mm-hmm. So you've already got a group of people who are lonely, awkward, depressed, socially awkward. These are going back to the statement before. People that want to do mail order brides and all this other stuff because they can't attain a physical relationship with another person. And then so you throw that into it, and then you throw the fantasy aspect of it. Say, okay, well, I can't meet a girl anyway, and the ones I fantasize about are the ones that are going to get me off or whatever. Is this as a super unattainable person to begin with? So you put all that together, which is humans today have these high expectations of things that will never happen. And it's everything from relationships to how much money they make to the zip code they live in or whatever, everything else. So this kind of just falls right into place with all that. So I could see, was it Demolition Man when you brought that up earlier? Was that the one with Sylvester Stallone?
Yeah.
Okay, that was what I was thinking of. That's a prime example too. So then you also have this aspect of if people were doing this instead of having physical sex, you're cutting down on diseases, sexually transmitted diseases, all kinds of other stuff. So,
cutting down on risk.
Cutting down on risk a lot. So is that almost not really a selling point but as people, because I remember in Demolition Man, I think that was a big thing. It was like they were real germophobic sort of personalities.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that sold that was like, oh, I couldn't imagine actually kissing you. That's disgusting. You know, this replaces that to people who are already not doing that anyway. So does it become a strong enough sensation, like you were saying earlier, Ben, where it fulfills you more than the actual physical sex would with another actual human being, that people just start going, I'd rather do this. You know?
Yeah, and I know that I've read before from I can't remember how I came about it, but there are certain things like I'm sorry, I didn't plan on putting this thought together here. There are certain ways or things that people get into that they need. They come to the point where they need in order to orgasm, in order to climax, and if they don't do those things anymore, then they can't. So I wonder if we get to the point where a certain level of stimulation. Be it your ultimate fantasy person, or be it I need to be hooked to all these devices. Otherwise, I don't even enjoy the experience anymore anyway. So it becomes the interaction with another person isn't even capable of reproducing what you now need in order to climax.
Well, yeah, and the level of experience that you can have through this is so much greater, and maybe it stimulates you more in general than a physical relationship with somebody else could. I mean, if you're talking about suits that, like, you know, stimulate touch and feel and everything else, well, who says they aren't also doing something that stimulates through your visual, that you have some, like a mental orgasm?
Yeah, like flashing. I can tell you from my experience using my VR stuff. Yeah, you have. Well, okay, so let me take a step back. You know how, like, the iPhones, for example, will have that dimming thing where they take out the coolness of the temperature and make it more yellow because looking at the bright blue light or the bright blue wavelengths really wakes up your brain and overstimulates you to wake you up, right? When you're using these VR goggles, you're looking really close up, like an inch, 2 inches away, a very bright...
It's stimulating the hell out of you.
It's extremely stimulating. Like, when I take that thing off my head, I'm like... fucking cracked out, dude. I feel like, holy shit, I just did a line, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, you're really awake. So combine that with sex and combine that with, that whole experience. I mean, again, that's another level of stimulation that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Right.
Unless you roll with your smartphone in front of your face while you're having sex. I mean...
Well, I mean, I think also, too, as this grows and more people experience it, it could easily be something that people start replacing sex with this. Mm-hmm. You know, because of that exact thing. This is a way better experience.
The other thing is it'll play off of an already existing problem with porn addiction, and that's variety. Every time you turn on that stupid website, there's a new person to look at, watch having sex or doing something. Every single time there's a dozen or 24 new people to look at. It's always new. You never even see the same video anymore.
Right.
That's something that no human can replicate. If you're married or if you're with a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, they're always going to be the same person. It's always going to be the same dick, always going to be the same tits, always going to be the same face, always going to be the same hair, always going to be the same way they kiss. I mean,
so now every time you have sex, it's with a different person.
Yeah, so overstimulation by too much variety.
Yeah.
And they say it's a spice of life, right? But I mean, apparently it can also kill things too. I mean, it can numb you in other places. And I could definitely see it's already a problem now with people who get addicted to porn. But the more immersive you make that porn watching experience, well, dude, you're like, you're adding more to it.
I can see that becoming a super addictive thing because, I mean, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, like I said, maybe you can't get off any other way, but with all this extra stimulation.
Yeah. Especially with the VR thing, because the little experience I had was here with the VR, and it's crazy how it stimulates you. But I was almost thinking in the stimulation of the visual, thinking back to like subliminal. People always used to say, "Oh, there's subliminal messages on TV."
Messages in the TV, yeah.
Yeah. So what if there was some sort of subliminal aspect to the VR that triggers something in your brain that gives you an orgasm that there's no way you could possibly attain in any other manner?
Nope.
And once humans get exposed to those sort of things, it's really hard for them to go back.
Yep, exactly. Now, let me take it in a different aspect because that's kind of a negative toward this. There was a positive that I thought could be tied to psychology for something like this. As I mentioned with like the chatterbait model or the live performer deal, you have this ability to interact with this person and they have the ability to stimulate you sexually, mentally, and visually or whatever remotely, right? Well, think about long-distance relationships. What if there was an app where each of you had devices like this and or suits at some point, and you could stimulate each other via a webcam session, private webcam session between the two of you. And, at least, what was the term I had used here? Keep long-distance relationships sexually active was what I was thinking.
Well, and in that same aspect, you could have sex with anybody anywhere in the world.
That's very true.
So, just like, like we've talked before about, like the mail order bride situation. Well, now you've got somebody in another country like, oh, I live in America and I'm really turned on by Russian women or South American women or something. Okay, well, now you can just go into this feed that gives you all these South American women to have sex with in your VR situation. So now you've got this variety that's endless and it's a different person constantly.
Yep.
All
you gotta do is pay him the 40 tokens or whatever the hell it is, and I mean, at first it would be expensive, but it would be dirt cheap after a while because really it's not like it's taking anything from them. They're just spending their time, right? So
it's just content.
What is an hourly wage that they're willing to work with, or a 20-minute wage that they're willing to work with? And then what's worse is you'll get outsourcing, right? So you'll be able to go to like India, and the girls work cheaper there than they do in Russia or China or whatever. It's like, yeah, so literally you'd pay more to do these sessions with people from different countries.
Well, I wonder if in that aspect of, like porn stars are probably the first people that would say, "Oh, pay X amount with me, and you can have sex with me through this, VR situation." So if you want to have sex with Jenna Jameson or whoever any of these people are, you just go to their site, plug in, they download this thing, and now you're having virtual sex with that person.
Sure, and I mean, obviously, I would think the porn stars, would jump on that. But I mean, in that case, you're paying for the time of a very famous person, and like that, you'd definitely.
Well,
be
that's a
paying
fantasy,
for that.
and I mean, that's why
if you have the money for it, sure.
Yeah, well, the porn stars they would make it affordable at that point because would you rather, if you're Jenna Jameson and you have this option, would you rather charge one guy $10,000 for this experience or charge 1 million guys $30?
I mean, but that's your time, right? Because how would you even
get... but if you've made the program or something and it's just a program...
Yeah, I guess you could do that route, but I was thinking more of the live,
live feed.
Yeah, but you're right. I guess if they got good enough that they could write the software such that it was interactive enough...
Because you've got this doll that you're working with or the suit or whatever.
Yeah.
So now it's almost like you're watching a movie or something that's pre-done, but because
I didn't even think of that. That could be totally done. Yeah, you grab her boob and she reacts to that.
Right.
And you could. I was thinking some of the shit I've seen from the VR stuff is they make these some of these games that are like virtual girlfriend games, and it's fucking hilarious. The physics that they put in there, like so. A while ago, there was a game. I think it was Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball. It goes back a few years or whatever. But they created what they called, and others have done the same thing, the boob engine. And it's an entire sections of code that are designed to emulate or overdo the natural bouncing of breasts, of large breasts.
Yeah, I know what
it's fucking hilarious. Yeah. So they incorporated this into this particular virtual girlfriend game. And guys being guys, well, of course, one of the first things these fucking guys do start boxing the boobs, dude. And it's fucking hilarious to watch. It's just their tits are bouncing all over. I mean, because it's overdone. The physics are overdone. So it's designed to be comical, right?
Yeah.
But that concept, is that she reacts to when you punch her boobs. She's like, ow, it's fucking hilarious. It's funny. But,
that's why we need these fucking tools, because guys are idiots and are going to punch a big old boobie.
So, girls, your boobs are safe now. We have virtual boobs to punch.
Right.
Jesus, there's something wrong with us.
There's a lot wrong with us.
Yeah. But for me, that was, like I said, when we were thinking, when you were talking through that was one of the things that came up to me. I was like, well, any of these porn stars could film a scene having sex with a guy.
Yeah.
And if it's stimulated back to where you have the physical sensation through a suit or the saw box or whatever you're talking about, then you're having a physical experience on your end based on what you're seeing through the VR video. Yep. So it doesn't necessarily have to be live.
No, it doesn't. I was just thinking the live thing would probably be more stimulating, and I was thinking playing off the Chatterbait concept. Chatterbait was really. That's pretty intriguing. I can imagine that's probably an extremely successful website. Wow. There's always models on there, like tons of them. And there's guys, two guys, one guy, one girl, whatever the hell you're into. It's all there. Foot fetish stuff. I mean, it has something for everyone, and that's what's crazy about it. It's that big.
Porn will lead the way for technology.
Dude, there was an article entitled that same thing from, I think it was CNN or whatever, they wrote in like 2013, I found while I was doing research for this topic, right? And then there was another article I read too where porn has shaped a lot of the technology that we have. I mean, DVDs,
right?
VHS. Blu-ray. That was shaped, especially VHS. That was shaped by because Beta didn't want to do porn.
Yep. Yeah, wasn't
then
that Sony or something like
no,
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
at first Sony didn't want to. Then they came back with DVD and then Blu-ray again. They're like, oh no, you guys can do your porn.
Yeah.
We're sorry.
We're not losing that on that billion.
Nope. Yeah, I mean, it has shaped a lot of technology. I was trying to think of something that might have come from sex toys that we see in some other thing, but well, I know sex toys brought us the magic wand, the Hitachi magic wand, which is one of the oldest and most well-known vibrators that you can buy. It plugs into the wall and they market it. You're like, oh, it's my back. You know, it looks like a long microphone, if you will.
Oh, gotcha.
And you can massage your back. It really was something for girls to get off on. It always was, you know. But they would market it as instead of a marital aid, it was a relief from.
It almost
sore
reminds me
muscles.
too. Like, did you see the newer Blade Runner movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you remember how he's got the girlfriend, kind of the virtual girlfriend or whatever, the girl that lives with him in the apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
So it'd be like taking that. He's communicating with this, digital girlfriend or whatever, and now if he wants to have a physical relationship with her, now there's a way to actually feel a physical instead of it just being a mental.
Yep.
Sort of thing. It's crazy.
This
whole aspect is bizarre as hell.
All that until we can interface directly into the brain and just feed the shit into us like the Matrix.
And then we'll never leave. We'll just be in
Why
a
would we?
chair or
Yeah.
whatever.
We'll become brains in bottles.
Yeah, we'll just be blobs.
Yeah.
Wow. Somebody will take our energy to run something else.
Oh man, we are in the Matrix.
Jesus Christ. This whole thing scares the hell out of me. I just decided I don't want to live forever.
How do we go from getting off with from masturbatory topics to the Matrix? That's when you come full circle.
Wow.
That's when we know this topic is spent. Well, we hope you guys found that interesting, if not a little weird. And we'll see you next time. Show notes and other info can be found at our website, greatdistraction.com. The Great Distraction is listed in iTunes, and we greatly appreciate it when our listeners take the time to look us up and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps our show grow and motivates us to continue producing content. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so using the email address, greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com, or via our website. We're always interested in hearing any thoughts, comments, or questions from our listeners. Keeping up on the latest from us can be done in several different ways. You can add us to your favorite RSS feed tracker. The link is available on our website or in iTunes. Or you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Great Distraction, one word, no space. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for all the support.